I finally did it. I managed to watch Rebel Moon, and believe me, it was hard. This has to be one of the most incompetent, dull, boring, and the dumbest movies I have seen in the last decade. The whole origin of this atrocity also didn't even put an ounce of optimism in me. Zack Snyder wanted to make a Star Wars movie, the R-rated one, because R-rated and Star Wars go really well together, don't they? It's almost like Zack Snyder again wanted to take an existing IP, do his own weird spin on it, and shitting on the existing lore and the franchise overall in the process. Say hello to the murderous DC superheroes where Batman literally murders people because it's dumb according to Zack Snyder that he wouldn't. What a fucking guy. So Disney, of all places, rejected Zack Snyder's pitch for the Star Wars movie. Well, and if Disney, of all places, rejects your Star Wars script, you know that this shit has to be beyond any norm. So Zack Snyder had a deal with Netflix, and we already received one of the masterpieces called... Wait, how this was even called? Oh, I got it. Army of the Dead. The movie about zombies that makes no actual sense with empty shells of the characters that are there only to die, because it was in fact written by Zack Snyder, and if we know one thing about Zack Snyder, he doesn't really give a fuck about characters, their past, their motivations, and any type of the development they can have throughout the movie or the TV show. It also is important that the amount of holes in this movie was greater than any gangbang scene created by Brazers. But even after this, people were excited to hear that the rejected movie pitch from Snyder is going to release on Netflix in 2 parts. Seriously guys, we have to stop doing the 2 parts movies because it's getting tired. But this movie called Rebel Moon would be released not as a R-rated one. As it was pitched to Disney, it would be released as a PG-13. How does it work? You see, Zack Snyder, being a total hack that he is, decided that Justice League was such a success because the director's cut of the movie released, that they decided to release Rebel Moon as a PG-13, and after some time they will release full R-rated movie director's cut. This dude literally thinks that you can force people to be excited for the director's cut when it was planned. No, Zack, people were loud about wanting to see your cut of the movie because you got fucked by the studio without any lube. You can't just do this on your own and expected people to be excited when you handicapped your own movie by your own volition. And they especially won't give a fuck if the movie is a steaming pile of shit that lacks any creativity, because only thing you did, you took some ideas from other franchises, modified them slightly to look like it is something new when it isn't, and the people who are fans of these franchises will see this shit from a mile away, and at the end of the day you glued it together using your own spit, because it falls apart every single minute of the movie. It just doesn't add up. Let's start with this. I don't think Zack Snyder is a good director. I, in fact, think that he's one of the worst directors that is working actively in Hollywood right now. There's plenty of voices that claim that he's a good director but a terrible writer. I think he is a terrible overall. Back in the day, he had 3 movies that were actually good and worked for him pretty well. Dawn of the Dead, which is basically a remake of the Romero movie. 300 movie, which is good, but because it is Zack Snyder's stylistic choice, it is very tiring and exhausting to watch. And Watchmen, praised to this day, but when it released, it didn't really get critical or even public acclaim, became sort of a cult movie over time. And in my opinion, The Watchmen is actually the movie that broke Zack Snyder, because everything after that looks like he tries to repeat the same success that he had with Watchmen, but he can never really get it to work, so he tries desperately to push this overly grim and dark style on everything. I really want Zack Snyder to get his own spin on Tom and Jerry, because it would be fun, or maybe Ice Age. Imagine Zack Snyder making Ice Age 6. So right before release of the Rebel Moon, we received the information from Zack Snyder that Army of the Dead is in fact in the same universe as Rebel Moon is, which is kind of foreshadowing what's about to come. And he also slated the prequel comic to be released, so he's trying to build a franchise from nothing, basically. He didn't even get his first big movie out, but he's already issuing people to write a prequel stories for him, and tries to establish that the previous movie that was also a pile of steaming garbage is going to be in the same universe. I don't know how this works, but maybe in Zack Snyder's mind it actually does. So Rebel Moon released, and believe it or not, it's more of a Zack Snyder shit all over again. The movie starts with not at all Star Wars style when bored narrator presents to us the state of the universe and why we should give a fuck. He also gets us the information that the Emperor was betrayed and killed. That doesn't sound like it was borrowed from Warhammer 40k at all. This narrator is so full of life and gets me hyped to watch this movie that I considered that I just should turn it off and go to bed. After that, we get our main protagonist working in the field, and for some reason she goes down, takes dirt in her hands and starts sniffing it. This scene serves no actual purpose in the movie, makes no actual sense. There is no explanation that she wants to feel like she loves this planet or something. No, she just goes, takes the dirt in her hands and starts sniffing it. It only exists so Zack Snyder can show us how great of an artist he is. That's it. And this is the only scene of this type that you are going to see throughout the entire movie. This is a scene that opens up the movie. And if I wouldn't be certain what type of the movie we are dealing with, I would know that at this point we are in for a treat. We get the scene of the community of this planet celebrating, something of a Viking style, where we get a really cringy and uncomfortable speech from the father. Yes, I know, this is how they called him in the movie. The father tells them basically to love themselves because it will make harvest better. Everything about this village and the whole community seems to be stylized to look Viking-like. It was like a bit strange to see a sci-fi universe with space Nazis, especially when the start of the movie is more reminiscent of a TV show Vikings rather than Star Wars, which this script originated from in the first place. So Zack Snyder also liked the Viking show. Shocking. We can hate on Disney Star Wars all we want, but in the different places, the different planets we get to see and visit in Star Wars universe, despite of them having certain look to them on being inspired by different time periods and cultures, they all in fact look like planets in the sci-fi universe. Meanwhile, we get a Viking village on the planet in the science fiction universe where nothing looks like it was a part of the broader sci-fi reality. In fact, if not for the automatized doors in those wooden huts, yes, we live in the wooden homes and we have automatized doors, I wouldn't even know that this is some kind of a sci-fi universe. That's really something, Zack. The next day on this planet, we get space Nazis getting into the planet's atmosphere, where we get this presented to us in the way that the whole village is basically full of idiots, because they are just chilling and looking at the Warhammer 40k spaceship in the sky. And the only one who is actually concerned about it is our main protagonist. She starts pounding the alarm bell to get people's attention that they are in fact in trouble. The scene is shot in the way that I actually thought everyone is going to tell her not to worry because the village has cool relationships with the space Nazis and she's going to start freaking out. Well, that would be probably the better scenario because Zack's story goes like this. They look up, father says few words trying to make us believe that he's concerned about it, but his attitude and behavior are stating something of an opposite. This is why Zack isn't a good director. He has to direct actors, make them act to make them feel authentic for the viewer as the part of the universe on the screen. Here we have everyone just chilling, and the only ones who act are horrendous at it. Sofia Boutella in the scene as Cora, our main protagonist, overacts big time. Or maybe it just feels like this because everyone else on the planet seems to be chill the fuck up. The father is concerned, but only in his words, because his body language and portrayal of the character tells us that everything is fine and there's nothing to worry about. Later in the movie, we get people from the village to make arguments that they shouldn't be concerned about the space Nazis because we just shouldn't. They get like we are going to deal with them and they will leave us alone. The bodies come down onto the surface and they look like a Warhammer 40k inspired. Yes, the weapons also look Warhammer 40k inspired, especially pistols. So obviously the guy who was the loudest about working with them causes space Nazis to kill the father, and they basically have to starve and give everything to the space baddies. It always baffles me when the baddies in the movie who obliterate all the planets and murder civilians just for fun, and the characters in the universe welcome them with their open hands. And you can try to compare this to the Star Wars universe when you have planets who cooperated with Empire, but Empire in the Star Wars was searching to control the universe, obliterating planets only known that would cooperate or hide rebels. But this movie has Imperium, because you can't really call it the Empire, couldn't you, Zack? Here we have space Nazis. And later in the movie we are told that they are just bad for sake of being bad. They have generals who will go down to eradicate whole planets because they just want to kill people and destroy the planet. There is no depth to their actions. There are no Siths and Jedi who fight over the galaxy to model the galaxy on to their own principles and ideals. No, here we have space Nazis. They are just bad because they are bad, just for the sake of being bad. The movie doesn't present us much about them because there isn't much to present about them. It baffles me even more that there would be people in this universe who are welcoming these murderous maniacs with open hands. But let's get things in order, okay? Because after that, we get troops left behind on the planet that are going to... I don't really know. They are supposed to be doing. They are going to make people who want to work in the field work in the field. That's the only reason space baddies basically were left behind on this Viking planet, which, by the way, is this village looks like it's a sole village on this one planet, because when Nazis and Father are talking, they are acting like the whole planet is basically under this one bearded gentleman's command. The soldiers of the Imperium are cartoonishly evil, acting in a creepy and unpleasant way to everyone, even towards themselves. People in the gathering after the main baddie left are claiming that we are going to work and we are going to show them that we are worth keeping because we work hard. Literally a few seconds before that, they were offering them that they will give them robots to work for them so they don't have to work in the field, and now they are acting in a way that we are going to show them that we can work. They literally told you few seconds back that they can give you a robots and you will not have to work, but they still believe that they are worth keeping because they can work. Okay, that's interesting, Zack. At one point we are introduced to a droid, which is told to be like a guard of a slain emperor, and now is basically harmless and useless. One of the soldiers gets the droid out to help them move the crates to the shed, and the other retards start shooting at the droid because it's fun. And after that, the one that is more cartoon-like starts yelling at the droid that he dropped the crates, even though he just blasted him with a rifle. But okay, at this moment it's very clear what Zack is doing, trying to portray baddies as baddies, because there is no other way to portray bad guys and make them unlikable in his head. This happens all the time throughout the movie. There is only cartoon evil and cartoon good. There is no in-between. So after everything happened, there is a scene in the shed which Zack wanted to have his own version of John Wick, I guess, where the baddies attempt to grape a woman from the village. Cora gets into the shed with an axe and, alone against buff dudes with rifles, starts beating them all and slaughtering them. Over explicit usage of slow motion is also present because Zack Snyder wants to give us more time to look at this atrocity of the fight, and I also like the fact when she starts killing one after another, the rest of the idiots just to stand around and wait for their turn to come. At this point, you stop holding the girl that is harmless to you and decide to shoot the one who killed half of your squadron, but this movie expects you to believe that Imperium is overrun with idiots like these and is actually feared across the galaxy, and you should treat them seriously. One of the soldiers turns out to be good and helps Cora during the fight, but just a little bit, and after everyone is slaughtered by woman with an axe against buff dudes with rifles, where no blood was shed because it's a PG-13 version of the movie and it looks comical, there is one last dude holding the girl hostage. The droid from earlier takes up the rifle, shoots the guy in between his eyes, and after that he just drops the rifle and fucks off. This is the last time you're going to see him in... Oh no, wait. There is an ending shot where he is standing in the field with antlers on his head. Oh, okay, I have so many questions, but at the same time, I don't really give a shit. So after this endeavor, Cora and the farm boy who caused this whole shit to begin with take off from the village, and they decide to go and find rebels because farm boy supposedly sold them some harvest. Yes, imagine this idiot dealing with rebels and being the same idiot who wanted to deal with the Imperium, who will destroy the entire planet just for fun of it. Imagine if they knew that you are going to deal with them and you dealt with rebels. They would instantly burn the planet. But okay, I'm out of words at this point. I mean, Zack proved to us multiple times that the village is full of idiots, but goddamn. So, as I mentioned, we only take off with Cora and Farm Boy. You'd think maybe the kid that was actually good one in the Space Nazis troops would go with them. No, this is actually the last time you see him in the movie. He's irrelevant at this point. On the road, we get a sob story from Cora where she tells us about evil space Nazis, how they destroyed her planet. But when you listen to what she's saying, it doesn't make any sense in the slightest. The space Nazis are low on resources, so they invade other planets, including the Space Village Viking one, to get resources from them. Cora tells us that her planet was invaded by evil space Nazis. For fun. Just to wreak havoc and destroy it, because the man leading the invasion was just enjoying the killing and wrecking shit. So after that, she tells us that her people rebelled, and that gave space Nazis the excuse to murder them all and do horrific things to them and destroy the whole planet. Hold up. They went to the planet with intent to destroy and kill, but rebelling people gave them excuse to murder and destroy. I genuinely think ChatGPT had to do something with writing the script. Although, as I tested ChatGPT to write some stories through it, I never created such an atrocious piece of shit that had so many plot holes. Shortly after the sob story ends, we get to the bar, which is supposed to be Cantina scene from The New Hope. Yes, you guessed it. They go in. Cora says that they must keep the low profile because they can't make anyone suspicious. Some pigman comes to them, grabs the farm boy's balls, and says to him that he wants to make him feel good. I'm not joking. Cora gets rid of him because Farm Boy is useless. Later he comes back, she annihilates him again with the help of Kai, who has one of the most insufferable fake accents I have heard in the movies in a long time.
I'm more of an opportunist, you might say.
And it's hard to listen to him when you know how Charlie Hunnam speaks. In different movies, his natural accent, which is the British one, or the American one, like in Sons of Anarchy. Here, it's just incredibly off, but it applies to most of the cast. It feels like Zack forced them to make these accents, like deliberately shooting for it, for all of them to sound off. Kai is our Han Solo. Offers Cora and a farm boy to get them anywhere they want to go, for whatever they will be willing to give him. Not weird, not suspicious at all. I always take on strangers who offer me free ride. Yes, obviously, when Kai offers them to take them anywhere they want, Korra also mentions to him, off the bat, straight up, we are searching for the rebels. I'm not joking. Before she said they have to keep low profile, but now she's like, oh hey stranger who offered our not suspiciously free ride, we are looking for the rebels. You in? So after this, everything that happens in the movie is like cliff notes of an actual script that was supposed to be written. Why? Because we are jumping from place to place collecting the rest of the crew, and nothing of it feels earned or makes any sense. So to give you cliff notes of the cliff notes, and to not make this video overly long, I'm going to go through it faster than Zack Snyder ever could. Kai takes us to the guy who has his own slave because we will be interested in the slave, and they make a deal with a guy that if the slave is going to ride the hippogriff or the birdie looking thing, they will let him go. But if not, Korra, Kai and the farm boy will become slaves of this old man. And they seem to be really cool with it. This is really important, okay? Nobody protests. Slave boy rides the bird, the target owner lets him go away and his debt is considered to be paid, and he gets killed by the bird. After that we get to the swordswoman, who is supposed to be a Jedi. She wants to avenge and save kids that were taken and eaten by this spiderly looking thing. She fights it for a short while. I feel like Zack forgot to add right amount of slow motion in this scene because it went by pretty fast. And all of a sudden swordswoman joins the crew. With nothing, like nothing, just like this. She just joins. She's okay with it, she's cool. After this, we get to the Colosseum of sorts, and we get this ex-general who is really down and drunk, and he lost his man and his shell of his former self. He says that he's not going to join them, but Korra says that she offers him revenge, and he just joins the crew. After we are done with these three, we reach out to the king of some empty as fuck unimaginative planet who connects us with rebels. And after a few words exchanged and lie told to the rebels that they are to blame for the Vikings planet to be in danger, the rebels, or some portion of them at least, joins Korra. Yep, straight out of the ass, we managed to complete our crew of the most important people in the galaxy. And you may be thinking that I'm joking, and this is some kind of a joke that I'm making. This is no way that this movie is progressing like this. And I will just respond, no, I'm not joking. Watching this reminded me of the story that I wrote when I was 15, and I had no vision, an idea how to make protagonists to complete their crew and things they need to become a full-blown crew and head to sail. So I wrote it similarly. The difference is that the Zack Snyder is not 15, had a lot of resources and a lot of people around him and the money to hire some new people who would look at this shit of a script and say, nope, this is not working, we have to rewrite it or just throw it into the trash can and forget about it. After this jumpy trip, we get to the end of the movie. We get foreshadowing that Kai is an evil bastard when he tells Korra that she makes him want to be good. And after that, they land in the docks, unload the cargo. Cargo is a bunch of capture devices disguised as cargo, and they capture our crew. Space Nazis come down, and the main baddie gives us an exposition dump, telling us few words about each and every single one of the crew members because he has to tell us why these people are important and why did we even get them in the crew in the first place, because the movie didn't do anything of it. The movie didn't even manage to let us know things about our main protagonist. We have Korra, who was taken from the planet that Imperium decided to destroy for fun, was a part of the Imperium's army, and she lost a love of her life and bailed to harvest potatoes on some Viking planet. If it comes to the farm boy, he is just a farm boy who sold some stock to the rebels. That's it. This is what Zack Snyder thinks that this is the only information he needs to give us to create a bond between characters and the audience. At this point, we have end of the movie. They could all die and nobody would give a slightest fuck. In fact, Two of the people die and you feel nothing. Kai betrays them and gets killed by Farm Boy. That's the biggest thing he did the entire movie. He got rid of the actor that actually kept me watching this piece of shit of the movie in the first place, and he killed him in a split second. And another one who died in a really stupid way was the Rebel twin. Dude decided to recreate 300's shot, jumped with a spear onto the cannon gun and missed. The simple metal spear crushed the glass in the spaceship. Okay, Zack. Okay. Rebel dude got shot twice, but before dying he took down the entire ship by killing a soldier in the cannon and pulling some lever. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck did just happen in the scene. The whole ship just went down to shit because a single lever being pulled in the side cannon. Of course, Korra is taking down the main baddie, stabs him, kicks him off the platform. Dude is dead. Oh no. No, he's not. After they leave, the dude's body is being taken by the Imperium and he is resurrected and will come back to destroy Korra and the rebels in the second part of this magnificent movie done by Zack fucking Snyder. I would like to ask some Netflix executives, how the fuck did you look at this piece of shit and decided that you are going to greenlit it to release to the wider public? At this point they have to be betting on Snyder cocks, who will just consume every pile of steaming shit he will serve them. Not only this movie looks like it was straight to DVD early 2000 movie, but also goes on like it was written by a 15 years old kid without any original creative vision. I think 15 years old has some more creativity in them than Zack Snyder at this point. The whole movie is just things Zack Snyder thought are looking neat and started connecting them using spit. Imperium because not Empire. So too close to Star Wars, so let's go Warhammer side. The Emperor gets killed by traitors, straight from Warhammer 40k. Lightsabers aren't lightsabers, straight from Star Wars. Viking village into space, because once upon a time Vikings was a really nice and super successful show that Zack Snyder probably liked. Space Nazis, the mixture between Empire from Star Wars and Imperium from Warhammer. But they lack of any depth, any values. They are just evil for the sake of being evil, when in Star Wars the Empire has some values and rules. Here they are just cartoonishly evil, when in Warhammer 40k the Imperium is evil because human race had to get adjusted and accustomed to the hard reality of never-ending war and being endangered from every side of other species in the space. Here, the main baddies are just evil for the sake of being evil and destroying planets for fun. Even the planet that they could easily exploit for resources. CGI in the movie is also awful. I never expected it to be a high budget production, but this having this blurry CGI makes your eyes tired, and some objects look straight up like they don't belong on the screen when they are presented in the movie. The droid is also CGI'd. Instead of doing some kind of a prop, it's a poorly CGI'd droid, probably to save some costs. When in doubt, throw this thing to the FX team, they will handle it. Characters talk with each other with pauses. That makes me feel like Zack Snyder thinks that his audience is retarded and they need to catch a breath after one line of dialogue being spoken out loud. The whole movie is a build-up for a second movie, which is going to be more of the same shitty writing from Zack Snyder, who still thinks that can get people to be excited to watch director's cut of this shit. It will be longer, have more blood, because this one was just to release like this to capitalize on the fans twice. And to be fair, I simply don't give enough of a fucks to care about the extended cut. He can shove it up his ass.